My name is Naomi Mercer. I was 28 the year I finally stopped apologizing for existing. The candles on my cake had burned low by the time my mother looked at me and smiled. The practiced kind, the kind she used at church functions and work dinners. 22 people were crammed into my parents' dining room. Someone's laugh came out too loud and hung there a second too long. My father carved the roast the way he always did when he didn't want to talk. Slow, careful, eyes down. I told myself this dinner would be different. We'd had a rough year, canceled visits, phone calls that ended in silence instead of goodbye. But everyone had shown up tonight, and for a while I let myself believe that meant something. Then my mother turned to my father, not quite quietly enough. Have Ethan swing by Naomi's place tonight and change the locks. Nobody reacted right away. It took a second to land, the way bad news does, arriving before you're ready to believe it. My apartment, I said. She nodded like she'd suggested picking up flowers. It's family property, really. We need it ready for your sister. You're doing fine. You'll land somewhere else. Nobody looked at me, not even my father. That apartment had been my grandmother's gift to me 3 years earlier, and I'd spent every free weekend since restoring it myself, stripping wallpaper, sanding floors, learning to patch drywall from videos at midnight. It didn't feel like property. It felt like the only room in the world that was mine. My mother slid an envelope across the table. We had the paperwork drawn up already. I didn't touch it. Across from me, my brother Ethan pushed back his chair. He looked at the envelope, then at me, then at our parents, and without a word, he grabbed his keys and walked out. No one explained. No one followed him. The room settled into the kind of quiet that isn't peace, just held breath. He was gone almost an hour. When the door opened again, his face had no color left in it. Mom. His voice was thin. Someone's already living there. The room didn't process it as a joke, because he wasn't smiling. What are you talking about? My mother asked. Something in her voice had gone thinner too. I went to Naomi's. Lights were on. I felt cold move up my arms. I turned everything off before I left. I know. Ethan swallowed. I used the spare key. Didn't work. So I knocked, and an older woman answered. Looked at me like she knew someone might come, just not me. What did you tell her? That I was your brother. That the apartment belonged to our family. He shook his head slowly. She didn't get angry. She looked sad almost, went and got a folder. Showed me a photo first, before anything else. You, maybe 8 years old, sitting on that floor with Grandma. Paintcans everywhere. Both of you had blue paint on your faces. I hadn't thought about that photo in years. Grandma used to say every home deserved one happy accident before it became real. Then she showed me the rest, Ethan said. He nodded at the envelope still sitting by my plate. Legal papers. Grandma put the apartment into a trust months before she died. So nobody, not even family, could talk you out of it. The woman's the attorney who set it up. She's been checking on the place because Grandma thought something like tonight might happen. Nobody spoke. I looked at my mother and, for the first time all night, didn't see certainty in her face. I saw something closer to fear. That's when I noticed the date printed at the top of the envelope. 3 months before my birthday. This hadn't been decided over dessert. It had been planned. I didn't open it right away. For years I'd been the one who smoothed things over. Lowered my voice when others raised theirs. Apologized first even when I didn't know what for. Every old instinct told me to let this pass quietly, the way I'd let so much else pass. But there was another voice underneath that one, quieter and older, that sounded like my grandmother. Silence isn't kindness when it costs you your own life. I opened the envelope. Voluntary transfer of property rights. My name typed in already. Only the signature line blank. You wanted me to sign this tonight, I said. At my own birthday dinner. My mother folded her hands. We thought it'd be easier with everyone here. Families, I said, also tell each other the truth before they hand them paperwork. Nobody answered that either. Ethan spoke again, quieter now. I asked her one more thing before I left. Why Grandma went to all this trouble. He hesitated like the words cost him something. She said Grandma noticed a long time ago that I was always the one expected to give up a little more so everyone else could have it a little easier. I sat with that. The The scholarship I'd turned down so my sister wouldn't feel outshined. The vacation I quietly paid for after Dad lost his job. Never mentioned again. The weekends with Grandma when everyone else said they were busy. I'd never kept score. But hearing it said aloud, all at once, I understood for the first time how much it had shaped me. Your grandmother misunderstood things, my mother said. Maybe she believed that. I slid the papers back into the envelope. I'm not signing anything tonight. It came out calm. Not a performance, just true. For once I wasn't asking permission to protect what mattered to me. I was just doing it. I stood. I think I'm going home. I'll drive, Ethan said. Rain traced the windshield the whole way. Neither of us talked until we were most of the way there. I'm sorry, Ethan finally said. Mom told me you already knew. Said you'd agreed to let Claire, our sister, move in, and tonight was just making it official. So, this wasn't your idea.
No.
I knew something was wrong the second I saw your face at that table. It hurt to hear how easily he'd been steered. But it also meant something. For the first time in a long time, my brother wasn't standing across from me. He was standing next to me. The woman was waiting when we reached the apartment. You must be Naomi, she said. I'm Claire, the attorney, not your sister, small world. Your grandmother asked me to give you something. Only if you came looking. Inside, everything sat exactly as I'd left it. Grandma's quilt over the sofa, the little ceramic bird catching moonlight on the sill. Claire set a worn leather folder on the table and drew out a sealed envelope. My name, in Grandma's handwriting. I opened it with shaking hands. My dearest Naomi, if you're reading this, something happened that I hoped never would. I didn't protect this place because it's valuable. I protected it because somewhere along the way, you forgot that you are. A home should be one place you never have to earn your spot in. I cried reading it. Ethan wiped his eyes, without pretending not to. Claire slid one more paper across. This one isn't about the apartment. It's about your family. It was an agreement 15 years old, signed after my grandfather died. 3 signatures at the bottom. My father's, my mother's, my grandmother's. My parents had promised, in writing, that the apartment would go to me one day, not as a reward, but because Grandma wanted me to have one thing in life that couldn't be taken. In the margin, a handwritten line. Naomi has always been the one who quietly gives. Make sure she learns that being loved isn't something she has to earn. Grandma hadn't been playing favorites. She'd been the only one paying attention. My phone buzzed on the table. My mother. Then again. Then a text. We need to talk. There's been a misunderstanding. I set the phone face down. Not out of anger. Just done performing readiness to be reassured. Grandma would be proud of that, Ethan said. For once, I believed him. My aunt called before 8 the next morning. I couldn't sleep, she said. Your grandmother talked to me a few months before she passed. She said your parents had started treating that apartment like it already belonged to everyone. She told me, one day they'll call it practical. Naomi will just quietly lose the one place that's hers. I should have said something sooner. I told myself it wasn't my place. That afternoon, my parents knocked on my door. We sat at the same small table where Grandma and I used to drink tea on rainy days. My father spoke first. We made a mistake. Not a full apology. Not really an explanation. But the first time I'd heard those words from him in my life. My mother looked at her hands. I told myself we were helping your sister. I stopped asking what it cost you. Her voice broke. I didn't realize how often I asked you to be the one who understood. I didn't need them to defend themselves. I slid Grandma's letter across the table instead. I just need you to understand why I can't give this up. My mother read it in silence, and by the last line her shoulders were shaking. I'm sorry, Naomi, she said, and meant it, or at least meant it as much as a person can, mid-collapse of everything they'd told themselves. Nothing was fixed in that moment. Some wounds don't close because someone finally says sorry. They just stop getting worse. That was enough to start with. The weeks after were quiet. No dramatic reconciliations. No messages insisting I'd misread everything. Just distance, the kind that gives people room to actually think instead of just react. I spent most evenings in the apartment, opening the windows, watering Grandma's plants, even the stubborn one I was sure I'd kill. It didn't die. Care has a way of coming back if you're patient with it. One Saturday, Ethan showed up with a box from our parents' attic. Inside, an old birthday card, glitter still clinging to the fold, a music box that played the tune Grandma used to hum while she baked, and a notebook tied in faded blue ribbon, filled with her handwriting. Not a diary, just small observations about all of us, never cruel. One line stopped me cold. Families aren't measured by who receives the most. They're measured by whether everyone feels safe enough to be themselves. She understood us better than we understood each other, Ethan said. A few days later, my mother visited, not to talk about the apartment, just for tea. She brought a bag of old photographs, Grandma teaching me to knead bread, the two of us painting these same walls, me asleep on her shoulder during a storm. I'd forgotten these existed, she said, looking around the room. She loved this place because she loved who you became in it. There was no hidden ask behind the words this time. No condition attached. Just something that looked, finally, like seeing me. At the door, she paused. I spent so many years asking you to be the easy one, she said quietly. I don't know how to ask you to just be my daughter instead. But I'd like to learn, if you'll let me. I didn't have an answer yet. But for the first time, I didn't need one right away. Okay, I said. We can start there. Some families teach you to earn your place at the table. Naomi's grandmother taught her something different. That love isn't a debt you pay off by disappearing a little more each year. The apartment was never really about the apartment. It was proof that someone had been paying attention all along. If this story hit home, hit subscribe. We post a new family drama every week. And tell us in the comments, have you ever had to choose between keeping the peace and keeping your dignity? We read every one.